Hi, and welcome to this Futurum Tech webcast with Capgemini and SAP. My name is Nick Patience. I'm the VP and AI practice lead at Futurum. And here we're going to talk about elevating data as a critical element in SAP S4HANA transformations. And with me, I have Frank Gundlich, IT Transformation Director, IND Global Practice at Capgemini, and Mark Giel, SVP, Head of Product Technology and Experience and Data Analytics at SAP. So, as I said, we're here to talk about the importance of data in SAP S4 HANA transformations. But first, why don't we do some introductions? Mark, why don't you go first?
Sure, Nick. Hi, good to see you again. Yes, Mark Giel. I'm part of our development leadership team in our data and analytics business area. I have responsibility for our overall product management, our technology architecture, and our UA UX, so the overall experience of our product portfolio. I've been at SAP for a little over 12 years.
Cool. Frank?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Frank Gundlich from Capgemini. I have the great pleasure to lead our SAP data and AI teams within our Insights and Data group of Capgemini, where we just are proudly welcoming our Synity colleagues, which are now part of the family. 3 years with the company. Before I was, like Mark, with SAP. Before that, on customer side and partner side, got 2 decades of experience running large transformations in data and analytics sides, but also in S4 side in the meanwhile. That's me.
Cool. Thanks, Frank. So, Mark, I'll give you the first question, if I may. So, how does SAP's data and analytics portfolio help businesses ensure data readiness and tackle challenges like governance, integration, and migration as organizations embark on their cloud transformation journeys?
Thanks, Nick. Very broad question. I would say that many of our customers are sort of going on this transformation from on-premise to cloud, and an important component of that is how they move their data estate. So the data and analytics portfolio is quite key for that. Many of our customers have legacy business warehousing and data warehousing capabilities, legacy analytical tools. Historically focus more on operational reporting. So as they go on this transformation to the cloud, we see them really start to think through what does their modern data architecture look like? How do they now provide real-time access to data? How do they make sure that that data is governed properly? How do they make sure that they adhere to the very many sort of regulations and data privacy standards that are out there? And they now start to think about how do they build a sort of a broader business data fabric. So we're really supporting them on that journey, often as either the start or part of a transformation journey as they move to the cloud. And here we work very closely with partners like Capgemini. Frank mentioned Synity. Synity is a core partner for us in terms of helping support that data assessment and data migration as they start to think about modernization and moving to that future state.
Cool. Frank, one for you, if I may. Capgemini plays a crucial role in supporting its clients with the data migration strategies. Can you explain how Capgemini approaches the complications and the complexities of migrating large volumes of data to S4 HANA, and while minimizing the risks to ongoing operations?
Yeah, sure. So there are a couple of aspects. As Mark already mentioned, there is a cloud move, which also means there is a renewal wish, there is a transformation wish to be simpler and easier. This goes with business processes. Along that goes with clean data, and what we now call a data first initiative means clean up your mess, archive where needed and possible, and don't transform everything in your legacy to be on a clean core in the first place, which means more or less the processes, but enhanced by clean data as well. That minimizes the amount of data, but still customers we have obviously are very large and very big, which means we need to emphasize on certain technologies. So there are ways to transform data either on technology side or on application side. When it comes to large amount of data, there are certain mitigations you can take. So loading partially upfront, then loading only delta while the real cutover, which is one way of mitigating it. Other than that, you could load a bunch of data rather raw, without a lot of transformations, but this needs to be very well defined beforehand, means the business processes needs to be aligned on source already, not only on target. The data needs to be very clean. You need to have a lot of test cycles before that you don't run in any data issues while the transformation. And all of that combination of elements brings us to mitigating the risk and transforming large clients and large data sets. On the other hand side, I need to admit that I'm a fervent thinker of let's keep only the essentials. So don't take all your 20 years of legacy course. Mainly, you don't need them in your ERP system, in your new S4 system. Rather, we take approaches where from a data strategy point of view, we say, take the essentials, take your open orders, whatever is meaningful and useful right now, plus obviously cleaned up master data, but keep the rest in DataSphere, for example, as a data warehouse where you still have access to it for reporting purpose, for analytics, for planning purpose, but you don't need it in your transactional day-to-day business system. So this is ways how we consider and how we are also going after our customers and emphasize, especially on consider a data strategy and analytics strategy alongside and with the S4, the digital transformation.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah, go on.
Maybe just another couple of points, because I think Frank touched on a couple of key aspects. One is master data, right? So many of our customers, as part of that transformation, are also consolidating systems, right? Historically, they maybe had 20, 30, sometimes even 100 legacy ERP systems. So that ability to consolidate as part of the transformation and move to a very clean set of master data that they then use to federate across their target landscape is quite an important one. And the second is that many of our customers continue to be hybrid, right? So we like to think about the move to the cloud and the transformation to the cloud. But our biggest customers tend to have and will have, we think, a hybrid landscape for the foreseeable future. So they now need to manage data that sits on-premise with data that sits within the cloud in an effective and trusted way. And they need to make sure that they can drive some sort of cost benefit or some improvement in lowering their overall infrastructure cost, and there they can use newer technologies out there, Object Store, Spark as examples, to actually start to drive some business benefit from that change, right? So it's a challenging one, but it will continue to be a mixed environment, we think, for a while now.
Yeah, it's a hybrid world, isn't it? Especially for most large companies. So, Mark, sticking with you, obviously AI and advanced analytics are powerful tools within the SAP ecosystem. But how do they actually help organizations unlock real-time insights and make better decisions? All part of this transformation journey that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we try to break it down into three areas: sort of embed, empower, enable. So one of the things that we're doing across our portfolio is embedding AI capabilities to improve the way individual business users interact with data, right? So starting to ask natural language questions, with a co-pilot type interface, so that information and data and trusted data, more importantly, is passed to them based on their business questions. So this is the embed piece, and here the data and analytics portfolio is the foundation for what many of our lines of business, like SuccessFactors, like S4, are using to provide those answers and to make analytical data available as part of a natural language interface. The second is around sort of empowerment. So how do we provide a data platform where they can manage their data assets, they can start to think about doing data science and data engineering type use cases. This traditionally hasn't been thought of as something that SAP provides, and over the last 3 to 5 years have often looked to move data out of SAP into other platforms. But we see increasing interest from customers now to leverage some of the newer capabilities that we're providing that enable them to keep that data gravity within the data and analytics portfolio that we have. And that's really about the empowerment, providing them with the tools to deliver that and the capabilities to keep the data with SAP and drive value from it. And then the third is around sort of the enable piece, right? So how do we think about driving productivity, leveraging AI to improve the productivity of a data engineer or a data scientist or even a developer to build code? So we're using AI across those three different aspects of our portfolio, some to deliver value to customers, others to really help support the transformation, and finally to drive productivity and help improve the efficiency of the business and the efficiency of the people working with that business data.
Got it.
Mark, it's great that you say that, because from a Capgemini point of view, we obviously use AI, Gen AI wherever possible as well. And we structure it a little bit different. So we have the productivity increase elements around the projects, where we use Gen AI for documentation purpose, for example, to just avoid too much manual overhead. We do have analytics embedded and AI embedded into our data quality features, where we do have like assessments on master data quality based by rules, but also now self-learning by AI on how good is the quality, where to re-emphasize, which attributes need to be filled. So there's a mapping between the old data model, the new data model, to make sure that you understand the differences and the elements between them and what is the change impact. And we drive that further into automated test script creation, where we use other partners like Tricentis, for example. And it goes alongside a chain from Signavio, from business process understanding and analytics, over Synity for the migration of the data and the data quality enhancement, over to testing with Tricentis. And we are using the full value chain of the SAP ecosystem in here. And we also do this obviously internally for our own accelerators, our own projects, where we do have dashboards for tracking progress in an S4 transformation, where we use all kind of nodes, for example, from meeting minutes over to scripts and documents we create, and bring that together into a dashboard. Where are we? And interpreting this data using AI and Gen AI. So there's a lot of elements and features which help us to improve an S4 transformation here.
Yeah, I think that end-to-end approach is key, right? And I think leveraging that broader ecosystem. Not all the data is always SAP data, and SAP doesn't provide all the tools. And I think this is where the experience of Capgemini comes, to be able to really sort of piece together and pull together that end-to-end view, which really helps customers transform.
Makes sense. There's some very pragmatic AI use cases there. Frank, so Capgemini is known for creating actionable data strategies tailored to your clients' needs. But how do they ensure they not only achieve the actual seamless migration part, but then derive long-term value post that transformation?
That is maybe the one thing where I always say, like, we are maybe a little bit different when it comes to data strategy, because we are thinking not about data only, it's data analytics business. And technically it's business analytics data. So we turn it around. So we first focus on what is it what a customer needs to do. So where's the digitalization need? Where's the harmonization, the clean core need? So what are the processes which don't add any value to the business process of the customer? So they should be standardized. Where there is a differentiator in the market and customers really gain benefits, we obviously foresee them and force them. And of course, we advise and investigate in what customers could be different to be differentiated in the market. After we aligned on that one, we define what are the KPIs which need to be tracked and measured while the process, which needs to be shown improvement. Then we can create the dashboards to that and start a digital transformation and measure the impact of it. So we turn it around. And at the end of the day, of course, we also come to points like, what is a platform strategy? What is the architecture from an enterprise point of view? How does it fit in infrastructure as a service or software as a service? But we are starting it vice versa. So we try to always come from a customer point of view first, and what is the business impact, and then tailor it backwards down to what is the technical need.
Makes sense. So, Mark, given the critical role data plays in intelligent operations, what innovations or upcoming features within the data and analytics portfolio at SAP do you see further enhancing data-driven decision-making for businesses?
A lot of innovations coming. I think it's that time of year we're planning for 2025 with a lot of new capabilities. But if I was to try to cluster them into specific areas, one is the importance, as well as I think emergence, of data products. Often we've let our customers really think about, how they want to use their data, but haven't really thought about how do they bring it together to support benchmarking use cases, similar to what Frank just alluded to, or cross analytical use cases where they need to bring data out of their finance system together with their HR system to understand what their total spend is. So data products we see as an enabler for that, and this is something that we as SAP will manage on behalf of our customers. So we won't make the burden. We won't make them take the burden. We will manage it on behalf, and that in itself will be quite a challenge, just given the complexity and the diversity of our customers' systems and their landscapes. The second is around really sort of continuing to grow this idea of a business data fabric. I alluded to it before. SAP makes up an important part of the business data. In some customers, 70-80% of their core transactional data, but it's never 100% or very rarely 100%. So we need to realize that we fit in with a broader ecosystem of data partners, and we're working very closely to make sure that we make that integration as seamless as possible for our customers. And then the third would be really around AI. We touched on a lot of the diverse use cases that are there. But any sort of business AI strategy needs to be founded on trusted data. So we're working very closely with our sort of AI team to really work through some of those use cases that will be delivered as embedded capabilities within the portfolio, but really want to put a strong governance layer in place so that AI is trusted, it's reliable, it's responsible. And that starts within the core foundation. So there are capabilities that we're delivering which allow for that trusted access to the data. And then the final one is really thinking a little bit about the next generation of use cases. Traditionally our customers have interacted with analytics through a dashboard or through a self-service report. Increasingly, we see the desire to just ask a question of the system for a chart or an analytical view to be created almost on the fly to support that need. So this move to sort of more of a KPI-based approach where you're asking questions of the system and then it delivers that analytical view so that you can take action is key. So these are areas where we're focusing. There'll be a lot of interesting news, I think, early next year, which will show some of the areas that we're delivering. And we will work closely with partners like Capgemini to map that to the business value for many of our customers.
That's great. Looking forward to it. I guess, the thing, this whole resurgence of interest in AI from Gen AI in the last couple of years has shone this really bright light on the importance of data, getting data houses in order. We've been through many cycles of this in the industry, haven't we? And it seems like this might be the thing that actually is the catalyst to get these these things done.
And one thing we do see definitely in that particular space is data quality. We all know that since 20 or even longer years in data warehousing scenarios, right? The data quality defines the outcome of your analytics. Now with AI and Gen AI, this mantra is even getting stronger and stronger. And we do see customers finally taking actions and investments into making sure the data foundation, the data quality is as good as possible so that predictions and simulations and forecasts and AI models are really running on high quality data. That is the one thing. The other thing is, and Mark said it earlier, the world is hybrid. So there is a big chunk of SAP, especially when it comes to business processes and the transactional elements, but there's a lot of outside data as well. What do we see is the importance of a clear enterprise data catalog. So you need to understand where is all the data coming from, how you can combine it, what are, for example, what is business partner in SAP versus is it a supplier or a vendor or a customer on other systems? So how you need to combine these kind of data, what makes sense, and therefore you need a data catalog. And we personally working there very closely with Colibra, but also with others, and we brought our 20 years of, or even longer years of experience of how is a business definition and business data model definitions done into Colibra, for example, as a platform, and brought 650 plus definitions by now into the platform and help customers to identify where is the data coming from in SAP, where is it coming from in other systems, and how you could combine that in DataSphere and in SAC to broader analytics models. So we do have first customers live with that, and it's great to see how customers are suddenly enjoying to combine data because they understand it and can build broader models and can build third-party AI models on top of it and get the results back to as close as possible to business processes to really take decisions and actively drive decision making based on data.
And it's a good point. And as Frank knows, we're also partnering closely with Calibra. We made some announcements beginning of last year now, it would have been, where Calibra was one of about 5 or 6 open ecosystem partners. We continue to build on that partnership, particularly around sort of leveraging the enterprise data catalog that Calibra provides, but also trying to do a couple of things. One is leverage AI governance and put AI governance in place. Many customers know this is something they need to do, but don't really know what that actually means. And here, sort of, we're working closely with them to help define that. And the second is to start to think about how do we do more effective data product sharing. So if the enterprise data catalog is the access to data products, both SAP and non-SAP, we need to be able to share those bidirectionally. And there we're again working with Calibra as a trusted partner to look at how can we start to establish metadata standards in the marketplace, right? I mean, at the moment, each of the different platform vendors has a different approach to metadata. And if we want to get to that harmonized view that Frank mentioned, we need to look at driving some degree of standardization. And there we're working with Calibra as well as some of our other partners in the marketplace to try and deliver that.
Makes sense. And so, Frank, for those organizations that are looking to elevate their data strategy as they embark on this SAP S/4HANA transformation, what are some of the top lessons or recommendations you'd share with them?
Talk about it early, the process. That is the number one thing. And we see too many customers taking the S4 transformation as an holistic approach and saying, like, that is the end goal. We need to take the system and all the changes that come with it. And then when it comes closer to the migration, the point comes like, oh, now we need to check data quality, data transformation. How does it come to? So it starts on the data side very flat, and then it comes to a peak at the end where everybody gets nervous and the first mock run fails and people get nervous. Can we hold the deadline? Can we do the real migration at the particular date we picked? And what we do say is, talk about data in an early stage. What does it mean for you? Which data is essential? Which KPIs are influenced by it? What do you do with it? Is the data quality good? So what we try to do is we start on the high part and go then on a low one at the end of the project. So put the effort in the beginning, make sure you get all the parts set up to get to a boring go live. That is the overall target. And with a boring go live, we don't mean that nothing happens. It happens a lot, but there are no big hiccups, especially on the data side. And the positive effect of that, and that we see with most of the customers, is they gain benefits from a clean data model and clean data way earlier, because suddenly it's not at the end you have a rush and you somehow fix the system on short notice just to get through with the go live, and then you still have a project of a half year going on for your data strategy, your analytics strategy, and how to set up the platform. If you do this in the beginning, you're right with the S4 start ready to execute on that. And with that, you gain the benefits on all the proposed KPIs, which you say, like, we will benefit from way early in the process, which helps on the ROI.
Cool. Great. Well, I think we're at time. So I just want to thank you, Frank, and you, Mark, for all your valuable insights there. And for everybody listening and watching this, be sure to catch the rest of this series of Futrum Tech webcasts with Capgemini and SAP. Thank you very much for your time.